Okay, what did I tell you guys? When I put in a title that says that President Nelson of the LDS Church denies this or takes away that or uh, uh, refuses, calls the Book of Mormon fake, or says the church is false, anything like that, people come flocking. So I've clearly found the trigger to get views on YouTube now. It's confirmed. Whether I can maintain them, that's a different story. I'm still trying to figure out about how I can do another one like my breakthrough video on the return to Independence, Missouri. But I did just recently today have someone visit for the first time and make a comment. So yeah, it's still doing well after all these years. But yeah, my video on, let me scroll up, LDS Church President Nelson changes temple text, still gets it wrong. I have 119 views, and look, there are Mormon bullies, 4 of them. Nelson made the changes, not me. So why are you guys putting thumbs down? Don't understand. Doesn't make sense. All right, anyway, so I had to reply to a comment. Well, yeah, Chris Young, and I had to put him in his place. So if he responds, I'll have to remove him for inappropriate behavior. But Gary Palmer is kind of confused. He doesn't understand the significance of the changes to the temple text of the endowment. And so I'm gonna to read what I replied. And okay, so first, Mormons, I hope you understand. Brigham Young was the first one to write the text for the temple, for the endowment. Joseph Smith didn't write it down. He just did the rituals. There really wasn't a text. When Joseph Smith died, Brigham Young, while still out east, or Midwest, or Mideast, whatever you want to call it, he added the creation and fall narratives or stories to the temple. And that's where we get that from. Joseph Smith didn't have those. Joseph Smith just performed the rituals. And it was separate and distinct from the Freemasonic meetings, where they would have rituals. So separate entities, separate organizations, though they were still both held in the temple. Yeah, they were working on building a separate building for Freemasonic activities. They were trying to build a cultural hall because they could no longer call it a temple after the anti-Freemasonic movement of 1827. Yes, right during the time of the Book of Mormon being written. So yeah, there's history there. And so I'm not sure if that got built. The land was dedicated by Hiram Smith, and construction began, but I think the assassination occurred before they were able to build it. And they got denounced anyway by the Warsaw Grand Master, and they were disbanded by him. So Brigham Young put in there that women had to covenant to obey her husband. That was the covenant. Obey your husband. So when President Benson came along in 1991, it got changed to hearken unto the counsel of your husband, as he hearkens unto the counsel of the Father. So there's a little bit of leeway in there. So women they didn't have to necessarily follow if the husband was being wicked. So you don't follow corrupt orders, you don't follow corrupt leaders, and that is a change that has actually taken place in our military as well, that you can disobey a corrupt order. And there are many people who are disobeying that by following Trump's corrupt orders. All military personnel, all police, all National Guard, all armed forces of any kind, all need to stand down and disobey Trump's orders. It's that simple. He is not the legitimate president. Anyway, I'm going off track. Nobody wants to hear my political rants on YouTube. They want to hear about them on my website. So I'll keep them there. Okay, so now the new changes, according to the Salt Lake Tribune, that came out yesterday, as reported by a temple worker who did not want to be known because it's sacred. No. We can tell. That's the whole purpose, is to tell the world of the knowledge that we've received. It doesn't do any good to keep secrets from the world. Amos 3:7. How are you able to warn people of lions? How are you able to warn people of destructions if they're not warned? So, yes, you tell people what you learn in the temple. So, anyway. So Elder Packer was wrong when he wrote that Holy Temple book and then turned it into a pamphlet. So, all right. So, now the first covenant in the temple is a united one. It is not separated for women and then for men. It is now one covenant that both give, and it's only to God. And so, what does that mean? Apparently, nobody understands what that really means, because it means that there is no presider in the home. The man is not the presider in the home now, because if the woman doesn't need to follow him anymore, she follows God and God only. Who's the leader in the home? If they're both equal partners, parents know very well how bad that's going to turn out, because the kids are going to take advantage of it. And there are nightmares of that situation that I've seen in my own personal life with other families. Not mine, because my kids were perfect. They were, though. They were very good kids, because we talked to them. And so, yeah, there's problems there. So what this means now is that the family proclamation, where it says that the husband presides in the home, is no longer valid. So the family proclamation is no longer to be pushed in the church, because the temple now trumps it. Because women go straight to God. They do not go through their husband to tell them what to do as long as he's righteous. So you see how that works? The man no longer presides. President Nelson has taken away the high priesthood, which allows him to enter into the presence of God after he dies, into the celestial kingdom. And now President Nelson has taken away the pants in the home from the husband. He has stripped them naked. So this is serious stuff, guys. I'm not making this up. You can go to the Salt Lake Tribune article to fact check me on this, because this is what it means. If the woman no longer has to hearken to the counsel of her husband, and she only now hearkens to God, that means she does not take orders from her husband. That means he no longer presides. It's like having 3 branches of government, but they're not checking and balancing each other out. And so, yeah, it's It's similar to a president and a vice president also. That's probably more accurate, because you're probably going, huh, I don't understand, Brett. That's yeah, but they're, you know, kids all checking and balancing each other. That it doesn't work in that way. It'd be interesting to see how a family would function that way. So yeah, would the woman be the president, or would she be Congress? Would she want to be the executive or the lawmaker, or would she want to be the judge? All right, so anyway, this is what you've got to make sure you are getting revelation from God as the leader of God's church if you are claiming this. Because anything you enact will have consequences, severe consequences, if you're not seriously listening to God. If you're listening to other voices, if you're listening to your own will, if you're responding due to a financial crisis with 10 million members leaving the church. So this is going to have long-lasting ramifications here. You know, Mormons were all about families. Families can be together forever. The woman now is free. She goes straight to God. And we all know women go by feelings rather than through the Alma 32, starting in verse 28 process. And I've warned you guys about that in another video today. And you can refer to Doctrine and Covenants, section 1, and verse 16 talks about it. But you can go back up to 15, and I think even 14, to get an understanding of that applies to us today, not Mormons back then, because they had no temple in 1831. And so, yeah, that's why I did my music video. I did a music video for you guys, and only a few people are going to it. So that's unfortunate. It was cool. I'm not on there. I don't speak. Just music video with text scrolling, and at a certain point I specifically slow down the text. Partly because I needed to get the whole song in, but also for dramatic effect. So, and then we have other issues with this change that Nelson has made. So not only has Nelson destroyed the family unit, because you've got to have somebody leading. You know, whether it's in the church, whether it's in government, there needs to be a leader, an executive, a presider. In business, you need somebody to lead. If you don't have somebody leading, nobody knows what to do. They can be hired to do something, but they don't have it connected unless there's a leader to connect them all together and correlate things. And so, yeah, he's destroyed the family unit. And I don't know if he realizes this. I would hope he's not an evil-minded person who purposely did this to destroy the church. But that's what he's doing. He's taken a lot of things away, as I mentioned in this one and in other videos as well. So, yeah, that's bad news, people. And so, yeah, I'll probably do that. President Nelson destroys the family unit. That should get people's attention. President Nelson destroys family unit. Okay, I gotta write it down because I'm gonna forget. Then I'll have to rewatch the video and blah blah blah. Okay, so now next that I'm trying to get across to people that what he has done with the changes to the temple text with Eve. Eve now has a bigger role in the fall. She has a longer part. I have not heard it. I'm not even going to bother to go sneak into the temple, although I still have a recommend. It's good through 2019. October 1st, 2019 is when it expires, I think. Or maybe with the renewal, it expires a month earlier. I'm not sure. But anyway, so I can go to the temple just fine, and I should qualify and be able to get in, and I should go, and I still have my temple robes and all that stuff, so I could go watch the videos if I want, but I'm not going to. It's an illegitimate church, and thus is an unauthorized ritual. It's that simple. Okay, so Eve apparently talks longer than Lucifer now, so she's getting a pay raise as an actress. Okay, and so that means that she's doing more explaining, fall-splaining to us as an audience. She's explaining her role in it. She's explaining more about what she's doing. Most likely, they threw in selections from the book of Moses where Eve actually does some talking. That wouldn't surprise me at all. That would make sense rather than Nelson creating a dialogue for her to say. So I can see that happening. And so most likely that's what it is. That would be the safe thing. If, however, Nelson is creating dialogue for her, he is altering doctrine. And that's dangerous because you're keeping it a secret for only those who get to the temple. And you're not letting other members know about it. And so you're creating a division in the church by doing this. And so, yeah, there's already been a division with those who have gone to the temple and those who haven't gone to the temple. But now you're widening that division. So that's something to watch out for. But the thing is that regardless of whether Eve is quoting from selections from the book of Moses or Nelson created dialogue for her, there's a problem. And the problem I've been trying to tell you guys is that the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and even from selections of the Book of Moses further down, all talk about Adam being the one who fell. And you know the scripture mastery from the Book of Mormon. Adam fell that man might be. Men are that they might have joy. Simple, one-line sentence. Even I could memorize that in the regurgitation education method. And Mormons don't think about it. I didn't think about it. It wasn't until I saw in the Doctrine and Covenants. And I went, wait, whoa, where's Eve? Oh, wait, Book of Mormon. Oh. So, yeah, it took time for me to have my aha moment. And, yes, Joseph Smith was correcting the Bible. Remember, Article of Faith number 8. We believe the Bible to be the Word of God as far as it is translated correctly. So yes, the Book of Mormon has lots of plagiarisms from the Bible. That does not mean that the Bible is translated correctly in those passages. Did you catch that? You need to look more deeply into your study of the Book of Mormon, because there's this word called charity that our King James Version, the Mormon King James Version, has not changed, whereas every other religion in Christendom has changed with a new translation. It's now love in everybody else's version, but ours. And ours only has the Book of Mormon to point out what that correction is. Love. And in fact, Joseph Smith even says in the translation, which is the highest form of love, or the godly love. I can't remember the wording from the Book of Mormon now. But yeah, because in Greek, there are 3 words for love. One is erotic, so husband and wife. The other is brotherly, like Philadelphia, even though it's It's sort of sisterly love, the city of sisterly love, but people try to argue and say, well, the ending is different in this circumstance because of the genitive, passive, aggressive thing. And then there's agape. Agape in Greek is the higher form of love. That is in the New Testament. Except where Jesus is talking to Peter. Peter, do you love me? Of course I love you. Feed my sheep. And he says it again, and then he's distressed. I told you I love you. And then Jesus then says, I love you, feed my, and blah, blah. If you know the Greek, you see what's going on there. Because agape and philo are being interchanged. Jesus starts with agape. Peter responds with philo. Jesus again, agape. Peter again, philo. Then Jesus, philo. Stabbing heart. So, yeah, pay attention. There's lots to study. All right, so, yes, Joseph Smith was clearly indicating that it's supposed to be Adam who fell. Adam, not Eve. And so this has been a problem for me when I learned of this. Going to the temple, and I've gone to the temple on a daily basis throughout my life. And so I've got many of it memorized. And so now that they've changed it, they're going to trick me now. I have to go on a regular basis, daily basis, to again memorize it, the new stuff. Yeah, it still is going against what Joseph Smith was warning about. The Book of Mormon says the Bible was tampered with, maliciously tampered with, and altered. It's not just like the Apocrypha, where there's, in section 91, interpolations. It's not just interpolations with the rest of the Bible. It was maliciously altered to present interpolations of evil intent, to purposely leave out doctrines, to leave out rituals, to leave out the gospel. And so, yeah, you aren't going to know that unless you do your research, not just studying Greek, not just studying Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. You've got to go back to Paleo Hebrew, then you've got to study Egyptian, and then you can go in and figure out the errors in the Bible. And that's what I've been trying to tell you guys. That's what I've done. And so the Egyptian records, sure enough, talk about Adam, who is a different name, obviously, in Egyptian. It's not transliterated, as Mormon apologists try to claim. Oh, yeah, they're all transliterated back and forth with each other. No. No, we're talking about taking a character from ancient Egyptian and giving them a whole new name in the Bible. A Hebrew name. So translated rather than transliterated. Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the prophets are supposed to be seers, which means they have the ability, according to the Book of Mormon, according to Joseph Smith in the Doctrine and Covenants, to translate ancient records. And so Joseph Smith gets the Egyptian papyri, translate partially the Book of Abraham, and doesn't get around to the Book of Joseph, which is on the back side of the picture thing that I have. He didn't get to that. And then, of course, Oliver Cowdery was given that to do, and he makes some comments. He doesn't really do much with it. The reason why is clearly Joseph Smith had more to work with the facsimiles. he translated the facsimiles. He didn't translate the text. So anybody thinking, oh yeah, well he is demonstrating his translation of the text with the alphabet and grammar. No, don't even go there. That wasn't him. And why? Because it says in Abraham chapter 1, on several occasions, he's referring to the facsimiles. And that's where he's getting it from. And so, yeah, that's what Oliver Cowdery was doing. He was taking the pictures. Oh, I see Eve with the Lucifer in the Garden of Eden. From that one scene of a snake and a woman, which... And then he says he sees Enoch with his pillar. Not much to work with there. It's not like the other facsimiles that we have. So he didn't have much to translate in the book of Joseph. But the fact that he's calling it the book of Joseph ties in with the Ezekiel prophecy of the stick of Joseph. It's the brass plates. What is that? It is the stick of Joseph and the stick of Judah combined. That's what the brass plates is. So for President Nelson and all of them, all the way back to Brigham Young, none of them have made any translations of any ancient document and added them to our canon. Only Joseph Smith. It died after him. And they don't even say in conference, prophet, seer, revelator, and translator. They just say prophet, seer, and revelator. They've dropped translator from it. And so Mormons are expecting, the sealed portion, the brass plates, stick of Joseph, and other ancient writings. They've been waiting all these decades. Nothing. And they've come out. We've got tons of Egyptian documents. We've got tons of Sumerian documents, if you want to go to that religion. But that's not the origin of the Bible religions. Jews get their stuff from Egyptian. The Gospels get their stuff from Egyptian. Not from Babylonian, Assyrian, Mesopotamian records. Except in the Old Testament, where the post-captivity Jew was influenced by Babylon and threw in that influence, mixing it with the Egyptian record. So that's why I'm trying to let you guys know that Nelson is not translating any of the ancient documents as he's supposed to as a seer. He is continuing the false translation that Eve was the one who partook of the fruit, not Adam. And so, women have now, in the church, have now owned it. They say, yeah, we took it first. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, that's not how it was. So you can own it all you want to assert your authority over people and men. But, yes, men were using that to suppress you. That's what Paul is doing in Timothy, where he says, Adam wasn't deceived. It was the woman who partook of the fruit and fell first. So that's interpolations of men mingled with Scripture. That's how it works. The author of the book of Timothy, who is not Paul, decided to throw that in there because the linguistic methodology, or the linguistic style, changes in that passage regarding from the other in Timothy there. So but you got to do linguistic studies. You got to know how to do that. And it's different because it's not English that you're doing. You're going to the Greek to see the difference in linguistic manner of speech. All right, so I'm at 30, so I'm going to stop here. And I just wanted you to know of the seriousness of what Nelson has done. I've tried to warn you of the other seriousness of other things, taking away home teaching. Nobody's getting visited. Jeremiah 23 gives out a specific warning to the latter-day prophets. Don't stop visiting the members. Look it up. Jeremiah chapter 23. he refers to them as pastors. Now you can say bishops, but yeah, it works for them too, because they had, through the elders quorum presidency and the high priest group leader who used to be, now it's just the elders quorum president, assigns the home teachers and now ministers, but the ministers don't need to do anything now. They just have to sit around and wait for somebody to call for help. And then they hem and haw over whether they really want to help them or if they can help themselves, because we don't want to become a welfare state. All right, so yeah, that's the impact of what was done with Nelson on the temple. So I hope you guys understand this. And it's not me that did it. I did not change the temple text. Not me. So if you're putting thumbs down, you're in the wrong. Nelson did it. He owns it. That's him. It's all on him. He's the president of the church. He's the one giving the orders. He's the one making the changes, not me. If you can't separate that, and if you're thinking to blame me and hate me and say that, oh, my style is not right, Chris Young. If you don't like my presentation, that's on you. This is my channel. I will not be silenced. When you get silenced, when you remain silent and don't speak out, you don't whistle blow, then corrupt abusers continue and they get worse. They must be stopped immediately. They cannot be allowed to continue. So, all right, so there. Good night. Farewell. I'll most likely see you in the morning. The Truman Show. I misquoted that, but something like that.